Hi everyone, Elaine Hamilton. I have talked about this before, but I think, I don't know, maybe just repeating myself over and over is part of the whole purpose of this channel. I don't know. But there is a real art in investigating discomfort and investigating trauma and resistance. It's something that maybe we don't talk about a lot in terms of the details, the nitty gritty of how to do this. And so I thought we would do that today. And essentially, when I ask people, so when people are resisting something, they don't want to look at something, or there's some kind of uncomfortable feeling coming up, the usual tendency is to either project it out, like if you feel anger come out, you just get angry at somebody else or you blame somebody else. If you feel fearful, then you kind of run away from the situation or you avoid it in some way. If you feel that there's just this trigger for a trauma and then all this stuff starts coming up, you push it back down again, right? We have mechanisms that we put in place to avoid the feeling of discomfort, whether that's a trauma, a trigger, a fear, something that creates anger, something that creates anxiety. So what all that does is it just pushes it back. It pushes it back inside, so it will just keep coming back up again. And in a sense, that kind of makes sense, right? Because we know that's what happens. When we push our fear away, we don't go, oh, that's that done. That's never coming back, right? We know that the next time we're in that exact same situation, the fear will come back up again. So we do know that we're not really processing or advancing when these uncomfortable feelings come up, but that's our defense mechanism. Probably comes from childhood, right? Where you really don't know what you're doing and your parents aren't really telling you because they're busy pushing their stuff down too. So everyone's just doing the same thing. So it doesn't shift anything. So the only way to shift is to turn and face it. And it's interesting because when I say that to people, then they misinterpret or they go down the wrong lane. So it's kind of like something fearful comes up, for example, and instead of really investigating the sensation of fear in the physical body, they start investigating the thought. So it's like, oh, I feel fearful because this, that, and the other. And then it all turns into like a counseling session. Oh, this happened to me when I was this age, and then that happened to me. And blah, 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 blah. That's story and opinion. That's not what I mean when I say investigate the fear. What I mean when I say investigate the discomfort is to investigate the sensation, the physical sensation. And the reason I say that is because when you investigate the physicality of something, it diminishes its impact. Because actually, it's just sensation in the body. It might be very intense sensation, might be very uncomfortable sensation, but essentially, it's just a sensation. And the more ease you have with all the sensations that are coming and going in your body, the less fear. So when the stuff comes up, you're like, oh, okay, I recognize this. Let's have a look at this again. So the way to do that is if you think, for example, of something that is causes you a trigger or discomfort or something that you know creates this thing that you want to push down again, when it comes up, the questions that you're asking yourself are not questions like, why is it? Like when I say to people, so what's the sensation? A surprising large number of people will give me a description. Oh, it's anxiety. Oh, it's uncomfortable. Oh, it's uneasy. I feel uneasy. That's an opinion, right? That's not the description of what's actually happening. The description of what's actually happening, la la. The description of what's actually happening is the physical sensation. So a physical sensation would be a location. Where is it in the body? Is it an all over body sensation? Or is it kind of like a lump or a tightness in a certain area or certain areas of the body? Not surprisingly really, but often it will be in the some of the chakras, like it will be down the main line here. But then other people, you might get a really sore elbow, or you might notice that there's fuzziness in your whole head. For a lot of people, it will come up as a tightness, maybe in the throat or in the chest, right? These are the chakra areas, or in the tummy. It might be a shaking of the legs. This is what I mean when I say the sensation. So not, oh, it feels really uncomfortable. I want to move away from it. I want to run away. I'm scared. I'm fearful. These are opinions. They are thoughts. They are not descriptions. So the description would be there's a tightness around my solar plexus. It feels like there's a fist in my stomach, right? Or there's a kind of feeling of tightness here, like I can't swallow or I can't breathe. Now, I can't breathe is different from a feeling of tightness and I can't breathe. But then again, there's that investigation of, okay, can I breathe? So really to get very deeply involved with the sensation. I'm fearful maybe that I can't breathe, or I'm fearful that I can't swallow, but is that true? Am I breathing? Am I breathing? Am I okay? Might be more shallow, might be faster, might feel like, but are you breathing? Are you still conscious? Have you lost consciousness? Like, is there really a problem with what's happening right now? Or is it merely an intensity, a heightened intensity of certain sensations in the body? Now, once you start to explore this without adding, I'm scared, this is anxiety, I can't cope, all that kind of stuff, which is all just opinions of the mind. Once you start to really explore that and sink into the actual sensations of what's happening in the body, locking it down, where's the sensation located in my body? How big an area does it take up? What is the descriptions that I would describe it to? Is it tight? Is it loose? Is it sparkling? Is it jagged? Is it spiky? Is it hot? Is it cold? These kinds of descriptions, these adjectives to describe the actual sensation and not your interpretation of the sensation into some kind of emotion, right? Just the sensation. Then you start to see, as you explore this, you start to see, oh, it's simply a body reaction. It's not life-threatening. I don't pass out. I don't explode. Nothing really happens. It might well feel uncomfortable, of course. It might well bring up images. Take a look at those too. What images are attached to this? What thoughts are attached to this? But don't get wrapped into the thought, because these are just attachments that you've made over the years. These are connections and they're links. So that every time you get this feeling, you then link it to a whole story, a whole bunch of things, all that kind of stuff. So the whole purpose of starting to look at the sensation directly without getting involved in all the thinking is we're starting to break these very tight links. And we're starting to just allow ourselves a bit more space so that you can see, oh, wow, when this trigger happens, all of this stuff comes up. So it's kind of like no wonder that I go into a kind of shutdown or I run away. There's no wonder that I get angry or whatever your response is to these triggers or these uncomfortable feelings, right? So that's it in a nutshell. And what happens is that as you get more and more comfortable looking at your sensations without running away, without pushing it back down, without avoiding it, without projecting it, you start to see all of these other interlinking connections in a very objective way. So it doesn't get all entangled. You give yourself more space. You can start to see all kinds of things actually come up from it. You start to see where it came from. You start to see how else you deal with these kinds of triggers in different areas of your life. And it just is a very easy, simple way for you to start getting to the bottom of some of these uncomfortable feelings that you would otherwise run from. As soon as you stop running from your emotional life, then you start to release and relax so that the next time it comes up, it's much less scary. You're much less likely to push it down. You might still have the same response, right? Like I have triggers and I'm still ranting like a lunatic, but there's something else that comes in that's watching the ranting with a very objective and compassionate aspect to it. So even when I'm still reacting to certain triggers that are almost hardwired into my system, and I'm saying things and I'm feeling things, and my body's like, I don't like this, don't like this, there's also another part of me that is looking at the sensations themselves, the triggers themselves, like, oh, that's interesting. This is happening and that's happening. And so my ability to calm down is much, much better. And my ability to see that, oh, it's almost like chemistry. This trigger comes in, then I react like this, and then this happens, and then that happens, and blah, 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 all that kind of thing. And it's much easier to not necessarily not respond to it. Maybe, hopefully, it gets to the point where you just stop responding in the same way. That's ideally what happens. But there are stepping stones to this. So once you start to see, oh, here's the connection, and this is what it feels like in my body, and I'm not pushing it down anymore. I'm just letting it be there. I'm letting it flow. I'm making the connections of what else is going on in my mind, what emotions I'm tagging to it as well. And you start to break that apart a little bit more, you feel a huge amount of freedom and space that starts to come in because you are able to look at it much more objectively rather than to get sucked into it as your only awareness. So the only thing that's happening at the moment is fear, or the only thing is anger, or the only thing is running away from the situation, or anxiety, or whatever. And then you put a label on it, and then that becomes your identity. But we're not anxiety. Like, anxiety is simply an interpretation of a certain feeling that we have in our body. That's all it is, right? Emotions are simply interpretations of certain sensations, which are then attached to certain thoughts, that are then attached to certain other thoughts and stories, and build, 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 build. So hopefully that makes a bit more sense, unpacks it a bit more deeply for you. And yeah, let me know in the comments if there's anything that doesn't really make sense or is difficult. And then I would say just experiment with it. Go back to the basics. What are the sensations? And by sensations, I don't mean interpretations. I mean actual sensations in the body when you feel very uncomfortable feelings, or sensations in the body that you interpret as emotions or feelings. And just have a look at it and see what's really going on, what's actually really going on, and how does it actually feel in the body if you were to break it down as descriptions. Where is it located? As you start to observe it, as you start to look at it, does it get worse? Does it get better? Does it change? Does the location shift? Just check all that out and see if you can unidentify yourself from it a bit more, right? Pull back a little bit more, give yourself a little bit more space so that you don't identify fully with whatever the emotion is that you've labeled. Yeah, and then just see what happens from there. All right, guys, thanks so much. Nice chatting.